chances are you've probably felt stuck with your YouTube growth, even if you feel like you're doing everything right. But what if I told you that there may be some pitfalls holding you back that you're not even aware of? Today, we're going to help uncover some of those pitfalls that we see every day with creators and help you take those next best steps forward. All of that and more coming right up.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast presented by vidIQ. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yep, we get it. We are here today to help you change that.
Hello creators, how are you guys? Welcome back to another Video Creators Podcast brought to you by vidIQ like we do every Monday for you. Today, it's just the two of us, just me and Blake hanging out. How's it going?
Doing well, man. I'm surprised Ingrid let us do this on our own.
I know it's probably not a wise call. Letting us giving us the keys.
When she said she wasn't gonna be here, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be an interesting one. So yeah, we're just gonna have a fun time trying to figure this all out. But we'll do our best.
It'll be an extra good one today. We'll make it a little crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, what's new?
Man, well, tonight, I guess Halloween's coming up. Tonight, I am going to something called Fear Farm around here in Canada. Essentially, it's like a haunted house, but outside. I do not do well with this kind of stuff.
I was going to ask.
I've never been to one. Listen, I'm still afraid of the dark, so this is even worse. So
why are you going in the first place?
I'm pretty much being told, my girlfriend's making me go with my friends, so I'm already I'm obligated. So I'm gonna get there, but I'm already forewarning myself that I probably won't sleep tonight. So
yeah, well, I hope you make it.
If you get a text from me with just tears or a voice note, please answer.
I'll ignore it. I'll just ignore it.
Oh, God.
So, Blake.
Sam.
I feel like we have both worked in a lot of different programs. Kind of over our time working here, we've worked with a lot of creators in a lot of different capacities, sometimes a little bit more kind of on a surface level with kind of a larger quantity of creators. Sometimes we go super deep with less frequent or a higher amount of creators. So we've kind of had a lot of opportunities to just really get a good grasp as far as maybe just some of the more common mistakes and pitfalls that we see a lot of creators dive into. So yeah, I kind of figured we could just kind of talk about some of our experiences, what we see happen a lot with creators that are usually some pretty easily avoidable mistakes, to just kind of help correct those things. And for anybody listening, hopefully glean some insight and kind of take that from there. So does that all sound good?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wouldn't mind pointing out too is we can call these mistakes too, but the one thing I don't want the audience to hear or feel is you're doing something wrong either. Honestly, I feel like a lot of this is just common. How to say this? We're just going on the wrong path sometimes, and it's not by anybody's fault. I think there's a lot of misinformation about YouTube. That was my issue. I've done a lot previous to working here where I just learned different things from different people, and that wasn't the most correct, or it was correct at some point in time and no longer is, right? So if anybody finds themselves in any of these, just know that it happens. And honestly, some of these are so easy to fall into, it still happens even if you know not to do it. I've worked with creators right now who have done, there's one creator I just chatted with actually, and he's still making a lot of the same mistakes, he's going off track a lot with the same things. And he knows that. He's just so caught up into the routine of what he does that it's easy to have it happen. But
yeah, well, I feel like that's such a good point, because I actually hear that language a lot. Tell me all the mistakes I'm making and tell me all the, am I doing a bad job? And I think I agree. It's different from, it's not like you're doing a good or bad job. It's more of, you don't really know what you don't know just yet. And we say it a lot. I think Ingrid may have coined this, but it's definitely just YouTube is a fail forward experience. Yeah. So you kind of just have to keep failing forward, and then you kind of just learn from some of these things. But yeah, I agree. It's maybe not necessarily something to get down on, but it's more of what are just the opportunities for us?
I think that could be the very first thing we talk about too. I think not that it's just kind of in our talking notes, but that self-talk or that pushing yourself in that direction of oh, I'm doing something wrong or I'm making all these mistakes. That's going to push you out of the game so much faster than genuinely enjoying making content, right? Because a couple of things there of the self-talk can really, like, I mean, for somebody, again, for like, I'm open, I deal with anxiety, right? I've had to really learn to rewire the way I speak about my life or myself, because that affects the way I think or what I do, right? Same idea comes to YouTube. I see people coming in, I'm correcting creators all the time of like, hey, I love how you're wanting to get better. Let's not say this about yourself because it's just going to make you feel a certain way. And I've had some of them like, they're totally right. I need to change my perspective. Because that makes the long game more fun than trying to push yourself and beating yourself up when you don't get there right away. So the self-talk can be a huge thing, right?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I've done kind of the same with a lot of creators I work with. It's, they're kind of getting hung. And sometimes it's sort of like tongue in cheek. It's kind of a joke of like, oh yeah, tell me everything I'm doing a terrible job with. And it's kind of like, well, maybe let's back up there, because of that sort of, I almost feel like it's sort of like, where's the magnifying glass? And it's really easy when you're a creator and you probably have a channel about something that you're really passionate about and you love it. And so you want to share that thing. And then when it's not really getting traction or you're a little frustrated with your growth, the magnifying glass is totally on myself. Like, well, I'm just doing things wrong. There's a lot of mistakes here. And then you burn out because it just gets frustrating and it's no longer fun. So it can really help to kind of shift that magnifying glass on like, okay, well, maybe what are some of the opportunities we can work on? You can still be yourself and be excited. And then that's only going to add kind of fuel to the fire to go even further.
And that's really the language I kind of push with people a little bit, is like, hey, let's not look at it as mistakes or things to work on, or it's like, let's look at some opportunities to explore or ways to experiment a bit more. But one thing you said too earlier was like, sometimes people will joke about it. One thing someone pointed to me a long time ago is like, there's always some sort of truth in the joke you're making. So even though you're acting as a joke, it's like from deep down, this is coming from somewhere, right? So just being aware of yourself. And I've done it for myself again too. Like, I've had to really be conscious of that, and people will point it out in me. And that can be another thing too, is having people in your life to kind of keep you accountable in that sense of like, before you can even be a creator, you have to be a human, right? So making sure that you're keeping yourself healthy in terms of, well, health and physical, but also mental, so you can approach this from the right perspective as well too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because like YouTube can actually be a really lonely place, even if you're reaching a ton of people and like a lot of people are commenting and your channel's growing. Like, as a creator, that can still be really lonely because you're kind of on your own. And so like, I've seen this happen a lot too, where, we'll kind of recommend collaborating with another channel. But even if you don't necessarily do that, I think just having people in your life who can sort of like bounce ideas off of you. I'm going to go ahead and tie in Ryan Trahan, because it's going to meet our quota for today, or my personal quota to talk about Ryan Trahan per podcast. But
wouldn't be a podcast without Ryan.
It wouldn't be a podcast without Ryan. I need to get like a cardboard cutout or something to like, bring him over with me. But I know recently he had talked about, they do like they call it a think tank. I almost called it a fish tank. No, they do a think tank where
That's what we're calling it from now on. We're calling it a fish tank.
A fish tank. They do a fish tank. They actually put fish. No, they do a think tank. And he basically, some of them are creators, but some of them are just friends in real life. And I think it's maybe weekly or bi-weekly. They just get together and just kind of talk about YouTube and talk about their channels and just some of the, and it's not necessarily with the intent to just criticize, or even if it's constructive criticism, like kind of dig into each other's channels. Sometimes they're just sharing exciting ideas and just talking about what's going on. And even something like that can be so healthy and so helpful, because you gain inspiration even from another channel that's maybe even a completely different niche from yours. It's really kind of just helps give you some motivation to kind of, I can go do this for my channel and get some more ideas.
I think it's true to any scale too, because I mean, there's coaches that I'm working with right now who's in the one-on-one coaching program at vidIQ. A couple of them have gotten one just got a new client who is one new creator who's got 11 million subscribers. So it shows you that any scale, you still need someone to talk to or bounce ideas off of. So even the bigger creators constantly are seeking help. And there's another creator who's working with us at vidIQ as well too, or another coach, sorry. His first creator when we launched the program was 8 million subscribers. So again, right, everyone at any scale needs that community, that insight, someone to bounce ideas off of. It's so much more valuable to have that really at the end of the day. But like, again, moving back kind of the notes we had here a little bit too, like one thing you had there was like, there's no goal in mind. So it kind of ties back to it too. I think if you don't have a clear goal of what it is you're actually trying to do, even on your channel, then that's when you kind of astray and fall into those mental traps of, oh, I'm not, you're beating yourself up, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's like in the same way, if you, it's that, what's that saying? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
so
true. Yeah.
It's so true
It's
because
so
it's
cliche, but it honestly, the more, and I used to hate that saying a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But the more I kind of implemented stuff like that, even to my own process creatively, like it does make a big difference. It's just annoying to hear. It's the same idea as like discipline. Like everyone hates that word discipline, but it's
I
like,
know.
man, it's so true how much that makes a difference in your life. Even just like discipline could be, you know, a video a week. It could be you working on a video bit by bit, you know, 10 minutes out of the day. Like, you know,
yeah.
but
Well, I think people don't like to hear it because like, especially on YouTube,
it's home.
it hits home and it's also hard. and
Yeah.
we want the easy thing that's going to get success for us tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like in reality, if it was that easy, every channel would be successful. Like it's tough.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think, you know, if we're kind of taking like a zoomed out picture of maybe like a big pitfall, I think it really is sort of not setting a goal for yourself. It's like usually when we talk with creators, it's one of the first things we ask, like, yeah, so what are we trying to do? Like in the next 6 to 12 months, what would you think is a win? And usually it's, well, I want 100K subscribers. And then past that, it's kind of, I don't really know. That we're just kind of, we've got this giant mountain in front of us and we're just kind of hoping we'll get up it somehow. But, you know, even if we're going with that analogy, it's kind of like, well, you got to plan out like where the handholds are and like strategically, how do we get to that first handhold? What do we need to do to get there? And then from there, it's so much more encouraging because you've got wins happening and it's not this just giant in front of you that you're just hoping, well, one day we'll get there, because that leads to burnout too. It's so exhausting.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing that I try to navigate with creators a lot is, and I get it, like there's so much opportunity in YouTube, and there's so much opportunity, there's so much area to really monetize, whether it be through AdSense or, you know, through affiliates or your own business, whatever it may be too. But at the end of the day, like the people that I've seen do really well or even thriving one-on-one coaching are the ones that are genuinely enjoying creating the videos, but also have a goal of like, I'm not trying to get 1 million subscribers. I'm not trying to make $1 million. Yeah, I'd love to be full time, but some people genuinely just, I like making content. I like making videos, or I want to build a community that I can share stuff with, right? The mindset, when you get to that, mindset of monetary or numeric, that's when things start to really get to you quickly. So I did encourage everybody, and we always try to with creators we work with. It's like, how can we think away from the numeric value, the monetary value, into something that, if I were to be able to create a strong community of like 10,000 subscribers, I'd be, well, again, that's numeric, but like make a strong community, no matter what the size it is. That's more important to me than, you know, worrying about becoming the biggest person on YouTube.
Yeah, I agree. I think another thing too that I like to kind of poke at or dig into with creators is like, a lot of times if the goal is a subscriber number or a dollar amount, usually that's more of a result than a goal. And it's a little bit outside of our control as far as really being able to, because we can't really control who clicks subscribe or not. We can do whatever we can.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're not saying subscribers are bad and it's not okay to go after that.
Yeah.
But really it's like, you know, what if we were to target, you know, better titles and thumbnails or better retention as some of our goals that we could directly impact? Then it's like, well, yeah, subscribers and dollars are going to come in as a result of the goals that we set. So
that's a hard one too. When I get people who are like, you know, I can't get anyone to subscribe. Like, I totally feel that pain of like, I wish I could tell them to subscribe, but people are going to do it if they want to, right? So
yeah, what do you normally tell them when they ask?
What do I tell them?
Yeah,
it's hard. I pretty much tell them the same thing. Like, we can't really force people. Like, you can, and I don't know, you can say in your video, we don't recommend it, like, because it can, from what I've seen experimentation wise, sometimes people will say it and it might work, but it's like, is that person going to come back? They might just click on it because you asked them to, but never come back. And to me, that's worthless at that point, right? But so we always try to avoid telling people like, hey, let's, you know, like we try to, you know, steer people away from asking people to subscribe in their video, because it really doesn't have much value to the viewer. But also, if it happens, it's like they're doing it out of almost like an obedience factor rather than wanting to actually, you know, subscribe and see more of the content. So I try to tell people, like, we can't really force it. All we can do is make the best content we can, and hopes that eventually people will decide they want to stick around for more. But what are we doing in terms of, that's where Primal Branding would come in. What are we doing in terms of community aspects that make people want to come back for more? Like, what, rather than just having a video go up, like, what are we doing? And again, Primal Branding being a long-term game, because it takes a while to kind of build up that, that community with those kind of elements.
Right.
Those things we can focus on right now. Honestly, I wish, like, as much as I love the idea of subscribers myself, it's almost like I almost wish sometimes it didn't exist, because it just takes people out of the game so quickly, because it's such a big focus, right? And it's hard because the analytics and the metrics really kind of hinder people's mental health a little bit. But I mean, what can we control? Again, focus on the things we can control. If we can't control people subscribing, what can we control that will better the videos to hopefully make people want to come back for more eventually?
Yeah, here's kind of a side question, because we just talked about this in a meeting earlier, but YouTube is rolling out I feel like this is a pretty crazy update, like pretty wild how they can make this happen. But if you say the word subscribe, actually, I'm so curious if this will happen in this episode today, but if you say the word subscribe, the actual subscribe button below the video player will sort of like flash, and there's colors there. And then if you actually click it, there's like sparkles and visual effects, visual feedback, stuff like that.
Does it happen once or multiple times if I say it?
I don't know. Could we just have the whole episode be subscribe?
It just goes off and off.
Yeah,
and
it just keeps going.
People are watching, like, stop it. It's like like rainbow in their face.
Right. But yeah, I'm curious, like, because YouTube, if they're making changes like this, they're placing some emphasis on the on the subscribe button. I guess I'm curious, like, just your thoughts. Like, what do you think about
it's weird.
What should a creator do about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I find it really odd they're making that a feature, where I think YouTube themselves know that subscribers as a metric is not something necessarily like, it's a fun metric to watch yourself and like shoot for the stars and get a play button, but I feel like they're drawing more attention to it now than it's necessary. So people are going to try to focus on that. And now we're going to get a lot more people in their video thinking that's going to add value. And now you're going to see the animation more. And it's like, is this distracting from the actual goal, which is creating a really great video and getting people to watch more? So it's weird. I'm not 100% sure what the idea was behind it.
Yeah,
I kind of feel funny the same. It's cool, but it's just like, to me, just from what I've heard them say sometimes, or even listen to people like Colin Samir and like what they think about subscribers in itself too. It's just like, what purpose does this serve? Yeah,
it's tough, because like probably the biggest thing, or maybe reason that I would see, and I probably still wouldn't recommend it, but probably the biggest reason I would see to do a call to actions to subscribe is if you're trying to hit the 1,000 monetization threshold. Like, I kind of get that. I also understand that brands look at that, and it's important for like brands 100%. And sponsor deals and things like that. Yeah. So I get it, but I think at the same time, even with some updates like that, it's probably more worth it from like a discoverability standpoint to not sort of hurt your retention and kind of waste time like that. And I agree, community strategies that will, ideally, you're going to get a group of subscribers that subscribe because they're really opting in to do so. And they're probably going to return to the channel and keep watching versus like, oh, we got, we're just asked a bunch of people. And then maybe they did even click subscribe. They just may not be as high of a high value viewer.
I think one thing I'd encourage everybody listening to, think about the times that you find a channel and like, oh, I really like this, I want to subscribe. You're subscribing out of a want to see more, as opposed to them telling you, hey, do it because it helps me support the channel, right? Because the times that I've clicked on channels where I've clicked subscribe, I generally want to see more of the content. And again, it depends on how engaged I am with them later on that I'll see more of it. But not very often do I just click on anything willy-nilly for the sake of support, right? Because again, I've maybe done it once or twice, but I've never really followed up the channel afterwards too. So
well, it's sort of almost become its own like verbiage, like YouTube lingo now.
Oh yeah,
the whole like subscribe, smash the bell to stay notified. Like it's just almost noise at this point. And maybe that's a good segue into kind of another
point. It's exhausting for people to hear that a lot.
It's just a lot. People skip pretty often, but I know, we see this all the time too with creators because this is what they see other creators do. And so maybe the intent behind giving lots of different call to actions is, the other channel that I watch does it too. So maybe I should do that. Do you see that a lot with your creators? Like, are they doing a lot of call to actions?
Yeah, that's one of the common, I guess, what were we calling it? I don't want to say mistakes at all ever in this.
The horrible mistakes.
No. One of the common.
Let's call them opportunities. It's one of the opportunities.
Yeah, there's one opportunity we can explore. We can explore to improve with is, I've seen people ask for a lot in a video. First of all, a couple of things. Some people will do it right off at the beginning of the video. Like, first thing, I have no idea who you are yet. Just watch the video. You're asking me to subscribe. Like what? I haven't learned anything yet, kind of thing, right? So, go to my website, go to my course, all those things at the beginning of the video. I mean, ideally, we mentioned doing it at the end because we want to deliver value to say, oh, yeah, it totally makes sense why I would do this. Like, why would I buy something from somebody or go to your website when I have no idea who you are yet or anything about it? And if we do it in the beginning and don't do it at the end, and they really did enjoy the video, I've now, who's going to go back to the beginning, decide to rewatch again, and then remember, oh, yeah, there's a website, right? So if you save it till the end, that's when it's most effective. But doing too many at once, gosh, I think you can overwhelm somebody. I think it becomes rhetoric. I think if you hear too much of the same thing, people just know, and that's also ending language. If I hear, hey, like, comment, subscribe, I know the video's over, I'm done, right? But if I pick one specific, it's out of the norm. I think you don't hear that as much, right? If I'm like, okay, we'll just do the one thing, which is just comment, right? It feels a lot more. Yeah. When I hear someone say just a comment and that's it, like nothing else, like I can tell they generally just want to engage, right? Or if we're trying to get our video surfaced more, to get them to watch a specific video. But imagine this too. So knowing that the algorithm wants to, so YouTube makes money by servicing ads, and they can service more ads by you watching more content. So if I get someone to watch more of my videos, they can service more ads. So if I'm focusing on that, and if I watch a bunch of someone, like if I say I watch a bunch of your videos, Sam, odds are, for some reason, I sat through all of them. I don't know why.
For some reason, but there's a lot of mistakes in those videos.
There's a lot of opportunities to explore.
There you go.
I'm going to get serviced a lot of your videos tomorrow on my channel page. So the whole goal of that is, like, again, if you watch more, you'll see more. But if I have a video that's meant to go really far and get a lot of views, and I say, hey, watch this next video, or go to my website and check this out, knowing that YouTube's trying to keep people on the platform. If I'm sending somebody off platform, I'm now giving mixed signals to this video. So I've not put a roof on how far that content can go, because it no longer is going to have the right signals to go vast and beyond where it needs to be. I'm putting too many things in there. So if I know the goal of this video is, hey, this video is meant to just get views, let's focus on engaging people, getting them to watch more. That's going to serve me best, or serve the video best, and serve YouTube best. If I know I want to get a sale right now, cool, that's totally fine. Make that be the only call to action in that video, so that they go to that and don't get distracted by another video, right? Because who knows at that point, right? If you're really clear about that path, the easier it is for somebody. Imagine trying to follow a GPS or just a map somewhere in general, and you have all these off-roads you're trying to follow to get there. It's so confusing, right? As opposed to one clear path to follow, it's so much more easier, and you feel a lot more relaxed in what the direction is.
Yeah, and you're gonna hit your end destination too. So it kind of sounds like, if we're gonna sum that into like one thing, it sounds like we're kind of talking about a content strategy. I still kind of feel like that. Fail to plan to fail comes into place too, because I think at the heart of having a bunch of call to actions is kind of a lack of intent from the creator's perspective, as far as what do I want this next upload to accomplish? And usually the answer is, well, I want it to do everything. I want it to reach a bunch of new viewers and grow the channel. I want them to subscribe. I want them to leave a comment. I want them to go sign up for my free ebook and, work with me and buy my course. And it's just going to do all of these things where, with a lot of the creators that we've worked with, it does become sort of that GPS or that map where it's just like, I see everything here. It just doesn't really do any of them very well. So I totally agree. I think if you're able to really think of the next video and really determine like, maybe this is a really discoverable idea, and I really want this idea. I think it's going to go far. I really want this to reach a new audience. Maybe the only call to action you should do is just really focus on those last 20 seconds, get them into another video so they're watching a few in a row. Because we see this all the time too. Like some of the creators I work with on a deeper level, and I kind of get access to their analytics and everything, and the action plan program. I'll watch them before and after implementing the end screen call to action to get them to another video.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see the effect that has, because even let's say you get one video finally takes off and it goes super far.
Yeah.
What that's going to effectively do is it's no longer going to just be a blip in time where this one video had a spike in views and then it just died. Like that's going to get a lot of views. Probably a lot of those people, if you have a good call to action, a lot of those people are going to go click over to the next one. It's going to bring up the traffic on that video.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another call to action and then the subscribers kind of come as a result from that too. Because, a lot of times somebody subscribes after they watch probably 2 or 3 or 4 of your videos. Usually it's not the first video. So
yeah. I know, and Sam, I know you've mentioned before because you work with a lot of analytics as well too. Like, that call to action, that being that effective, what results have you seen that yield for people?
Yeah, it's fun to see. I've had a couple of my creators actually go in and send me screenshots of, like, when you look in your real-time analytics and you can kind of see what traffic sources in the last 24 hours or 48 hours. They will send me screenshots of videos that they have uploaded, months ago, where maybe they did okay, but they finally had a video that went really far and they pointed to that old video and there's surges in views on the old videos. And it kind of becomes this like rising tides raises all ships scenario. And it generates so much momentum. So it's actually really fun with creators like this to actually just kind of zoom out and maybe look at the last 365 days or the last 90 days and actually just see on like a channel overall level in that retention graph, in that just sort of general dashboard analytics graph where they show you views. You see this big surge, and it's kind of like it's not just a spike. It's like a wave where there's some longevity to it too. So yeah, I think it's a super underrated strategy. I think it really, really helps generate some momentum for sure.
Yeah. What do you think are some, just for people listening, some things like analytics to look out for in that regard to study?
Is this, are we still talking call to actions or kind of anything? So it's a mouthful. It's, it's clicks per end screen element shown. Clicks per end screen element shown.
Where is that?
It's a little bit of a mouthful. It's a little bit annoying to get to it too.
Yeah.
If you basically go to your analytics and then click on the scary advanced button in the top right, and there's just a lot there.
All these graphs pop up.
There's a bunch of graphs and stuff. You'll see like a couple analytics pop up, kind of just the normal ones that you look at pretty often, like views and impressions and stuff. You'll see kind of like a blue plus sign in a little blue circle, and you can click it and it gets even scarier because there's even more analytics. There's probably like 100 plus analytics to pick from right there. But you can look at your end screen analytics there. And so one of those there, it's clicks per end screen element shown. Something to throw out there. I would really recommend for your end screen, just one element. It's very easy to just have like, let me put the YouTube recommended video also, and then maybe the subscribe badge because we want to give them an opportunity to subscribe. But in reality, it's like, it's almost 2024. People know where they're very well acclimated to YouTube. They know where to subscribe if they're going to. That analytic, the clicks per end screen element shown, it's also going to get kind of out of whack if there's a bunch of elements there. Because really what you're doing is you're just giving your viewer a decision to make rather than just a clear destination to go next. So yeah, you can measure that. And I guess if we're going to have kind of a barometer for like what's good and what's bad, if you can get into the double digits for that percentage of like, what percentage of people actually clicked this end screen? If you get into double digits, that's like a very good indicator that you're giving effective call to actions and moving people through your content really well.
Yeah. 100%. That's good. There's one thing I would love to kind of talk about in terms of what I'm seeing these days. And it's funny because you had a consultation with somebody yesterday about it, but this is somebody going way off track. And I think it's just like, it's hard because I see the usefulness of this tool, but I also see the challenges it's creating across the platform that I'm very much like, I have mixed feelings about. In terms of like, I see people relying on it too much where it can be damaging. So I have creators coming in who are expecting to rely on this tool to create the best, thing possible monetize like crazy, and they're going in for the wrong reasons, first of all. But second of all, it's like when we tell them and break that, it's like, hey, this isn't going to do what you think it's going to do. Watching kind of break their spirits a little bit can be frustrating, but also just I'm also worried about the creativity future of YouTube as a whole.
Yeah,
but I haven't said what it is yet. But what is
it? Two letters, I believe.
Yeah.
AI. Yeah, this is. I think this is really important to talk about because I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions, and already actually a lot of data and a lot to see with creators I'm working with. I think, and it's interesting because in this for right now, like I'm curious how relevant this conversation would be in like a year, maybe. Because
That's very true.
I feel like
change so quick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like AI is a very kind of hot topic right now. It's just really quickly improving, and it's just a little scary, like how fast it's advancing. So there's some amazing tools. There's some amazing opportunities that you can use it for. I think my kind of big picture thought or recommendation with it is like, let it be a tool in your tool belt.
Yes.
Don't let it replace your creative output. Like we're even seeing YouTube. We had just a meeting earlier today talking about this. We're seeing YouTube themselves emphasizing the same thing. It's like, you are a human. You're trying to reach humans. Keep it human first. Optimize for the people, not the algorithms or the robots, AI. Really optimize for your specific target audience you're trying to reach. But can AI be a really useful tool? Like 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, and that's, I mean, again, we're not saying AI is bad. I think actually it's been really helpful in a lot of ways. I mean, we use it a lot of times
it helped with this podcast. Yeah.
This podcast ideation, like, again, as long as it remains a tool, and I've had people who have really healthy views of it where they use it as a tool. Even a creator I work with who, their entire channel, even the artwork, they're generating through AI, but they take that and build upon it, right? They use like, hey, this is a starting place. I'm going to mold it into something different. But even for us as vidIQ, we have AI tools, right? And that's essentially what we're telling people it is. Like, it's a tool to help you create something. But if it's the end all be all, that's when you're not, really focusing on the end result for that creator. What we've seen people get into is thinking exactly that it's going to be the end all be all and do everything for them, right? And that's what you kind of ran into with someone you might have worked with recently. And I actually would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great conversation. This particular channel had a goal, and this is where it's like, we really like to, if we're doing a consultation or meeting with the creator, we don't necessarily like to just give like a one size fits all recommendation of, well, you got to do this, and if you don't do it, too bad, you can't work with us, kind of thing. It's more of like, that's why we like to start with, what are your goals? Tell me the story of the channel, what's kind of going on here, where are we trying to go, and how can I come alongside you to just give some feedback and help you get there? And so this particular channel, they were uploading 100 videos a day, and it was 100% AI driven. So
I can't even imagine how it does that.
Yeah, the technology is fascinating. Like, it's super interesting to me. But they basically had everything driven by AI. The scripts, the voice. They had like an actual AI character that we could see delivering the content for us. The editing, everything was AI. So it's a really interesting conversation. So, we had a good chance to kind of dip into that, and I asked a lot of questions and was like, okay, here's kind of where we're at. We had some good conversation around sort of quality over quantity, when it comes to, if we could have even 10 videos a day, which is still a crazy amount, but if we could still have 10 AI generated videos a day, is that better or worse than maybe just one video a day that we as a human have created ourselves?
Yeah.
Personally, I think 9.9 times out of 10, it's going to be better to have the one, because one video per day is still a lot. That's still a lot of content. So we had a good chance to just kind of dip into that and really dip into like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's awesome that we can use AI to help us with so much of this stuff, but it's going to be really hard to capture a new audience and get them to connect with us when there's nobody to connect to. There's no leader of the channel. There's no guide for them to subscribe to, because I think really people subscribe to people at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
So,
Again, the more I work with creators, the more I do this, the more I realize, okay, I think I forgot about this a long time ago. I say it a lot. YouTube is still social media. Like, people will follow the people they trust and want to get to know more, right? And those channels that are doing extremely well essentially have just that, right? And that's where the community aspect comes in.
Yeah, we kind of have to, we have to kind of to like convince viewers to watch too. If we could put all of the content out there, but that there's no guarantee that people will elect their time to come watch it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think like YouTube is AI is definitely a tool that I recommend to creators to try out. Again, even with vidIQ itself, the AI coach to kind of look through your channel, give you information. How's it going? Like, it's helpful to get the insights. Because one thing is, well, too, and we were talking about in the meeting today, is like, you can get so nose blind. It's having that. So if you don't have someone you can chat with about it, like the AI coach with vidIQ, the tool, I can have it look at it for me and maybe point out something that I had missed that I didn't even think about, right? And that's why these tools are in place, just to help you get your brain going when you're looking at a blank canvas, rather than saying, paint the picture for me. Which, I have yet to see anybody say they enjoy watching AI content. Really, a lot of people I've talked to really find it. Again, how many times have I pulled? I mean, this is personal for me. I pulled up a video, realized it's AI, I can hear the voice, I turn it off immediately. It's not. There's no reason I want to stick into this, right?
Yeah, it's the same for me, honestly.
Yeah. So it's been a difficult conversation with a lot of creators to kind of chat with them. And again, I think it's all just misinformation they gather, thinking YouTube can be this platform where you can just kind of pull in money really easily. But the more you dig into what YouTube is looking for and how the platform actually works, the more you realize, okay, this is not. And I'm curious moving forward to what YouTube's going to do in terms of this getting too much, and how they're going to try to tone it back. If they're even worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I feel like they're putting a lot behind AI. Just as of recent, they're beginning to roll out a lot of things, even just kind of generating ideas. I think the direction that they're going is almost similar to having like a ChatGPT in the YouTube studio, where you can basically help gather some ideas. Let's say you want to make a video about baking a cake. You could put in some information and it'll generate a lot of ideas for you, which is cool. Like you mentioned, the vidIQ tools, there's a lot of really cool tools that can help you kind of, I like to call it blinking cursor syndrome. Like, it can really help you when there's just nothing and you're staring at a screen and you're like, I have the topic, I just have no idea how to start this thing. A lot of these tools can be great to kind of get you started in the right direction. But I think it absolutely is necessary to once you get to that point, you got some material, like, you have to take that and then put your creative spin on it and make it yours.
I think about like the wow factor that I've gotten seeing some pieces of artwork. I saw a video the other day of somebody who, I think he had autism, but like he drew a picture with pencil, but it looked like a printing, like someone printed it out from a massive printer. Like, it was wild, right?
Yeah.
If someone printed it out from Google, I'd been like, okay, cool, it's a picture, right? But just knowing that a person did it adds that much more value to it, that I'm like, wow, this is beautiful, right? The fact that someone can do this. So
that's so interesting.
Yeah. So it was really like, and if, the fact that somebody who, is, has a little bit more challenges in life or different kind of experiences in life than what I do too, it paints a picture of what it's life's like through their eyes, which helped me be on their journey, see their story, which was really interesting to me as well.
Yeah. I think we're kind of like, we're definitely dipping into sort of like the human element, and that helps a lot with growing on YouTube. But I think we're also kind of dipping into sort of packaging for YouTube. And I think I'm curious to hear your thoughts too, but I really think as we keep moving into 2024 and keep kind of evolving on the platform, I do think there's going to be a lot more AI channels, a lot more AI driven content, and just a way higher amount of content on the platform in general. So I just think more now than ever moving forward, I think packaging well for YouTube is just going to matter even more. But I guess, how often do you talk about packaging with your creators, and what does that normally look like? Yeah,
I think it's the biggest thing. And honestly, this is a pain point for anybody. Like, I feel like when we were away at Vid Summit, like how many big creators were talking about how this is still a struggle for them.
Absolutely.
Sessions we sat in where they were just, thumbnail specific, which is really interesting too.
Yeah.
it's a big roadblock for people because it's a make or break for a video in a lot of ways. Like the video can be amazing, but if the thumbnail, the packaging is not great, and I feel like there are some videos out there like definitely have room for experimentation, for opportunity improvement, but they deserve a chance. But it's hard when the packaging is not serving the video well, right?
Yeah.
You want to paint the house before someone gets in, right? In a really effective way, because that makes, as much as we say don't judge a book by its cover, it's essentially what we do on YouTube. We look at that.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I mean, if you're at the library, maybe this is just me because I'm not a massive reader, but I always look at the library? What's the most, yeah, I can read. Shocker. It's one of those things. I always look for the most interesting looking cover, and that's what catches your eye, and that's what makes you pull the book off the shelf. So
yeah. I think because YouTube is such a creative platform that a lot of creatives go, they're looking for that sort of thing too. Like what's gonna make me feel something,
Yeah.
Any artwork that's effective makes you feel really at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it be pictures, whether it be music, whether it be anything like that, it makes you feel something.
Yeah.
But packaging is one of the biggest things that we definitely lean into. And I guess the typical things that I see people, trying to figure out is, a lot of times I see people they repeat the title again in their thumbnail. It's just like, I think this is the way I picture it. I picture it as like a PowerPoint presentation. I see a PowerPoint presentation slide as a thumbnail, and that to me is wasted opportunity. It's like you're telling me the exact same things. You're not really showing me what I'm going to be clicking into. It's going to be interesting, as opposed to this car that's on fire and there's a spaceship around it. That's like, okay, what the heck's going on there? I got to see this, right?
Yeah.
You think about newspapers, like the front page, the big picture. That's what's going to pull you in at some point, right? I was just playing Spider-Man. I just showed a picture of Spider-Man.
Me too.
Like that would pull me in, right? So it's the same idea as that. So. Definitely some things. But what are some things you think people have trouble with when it comes to approaching their thumbnails and titles?
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe we should just pause for a second and kind of define packaging, because I do think we're talking about titles and thumbnails, and I think 100% like that's a huge part of packaging. But I would even say packaging is sort of the content itself and how it's being delivered. I would think of sort of, whatever the script looks like, an opening hook, even the call to action at the end. Like, how are we packaging the topic in general? What is how in its wholeness? What does it look like packaged? So I definitely like titles and thumbnails. I'm sure I've had some, but it's really rare that I have a conversation with a creator where we don't talk about titles and thumbnails, because I do think of all creators, all shapes and sizes, that is like 100% one of the most important things. You can have the greatest story ever, and if nobody is enticed to click, no one's ever going to see it. Definitely the titles and thumbnails for sure.
What are some of so I give a lot of the same feedback a lot of times about thumbnails. What is the common feedback you give?
Yeah, one of the things I found myself saying most is when you think about like giving the viewer context for what your video is going to be about, the thumbnail should be the thing giving the most context, not the title. So I think a lot of times it's the opposite. It's the title is what's thought of first, and then we put it there, and then it's, we need a thumbnail to put with this. Let me just put my face, and then I'm going to put the title just in the thumbnail also. Or maybe like some words that are kind of similar to that. So a lot of times it's just kind of hard to make that clickable, because when you think about from the viewer's perspective, they're on their phone, they just got off a long day of work, they're scrolling, and then, they're just going to keep scrolling unless they see a thumbnail that's like giving context, but also sparking some sort of curiosity. So, if I just did a consultation the other day with somebody who lives in Portugal and, does a lot of just beautiful travel types of videos and explores these castles and like really cool things. And for some of his thumbnails, he had a great title, but he'd be talking about like this secret castle in the middle of this forest. And we didn't really even see the castle at all in the thumbnail. So I think if you're able to show the thing that's the context and then create some sort of curiosity, like for him, I was like, well, what was cool about this castle? And there was sort of like a secret hatch kind of thing. So then we had like, what if you just add that as some text and point to it with an arrow? Maybe you have like secret entrance or something. Now you got a really interesting thumbnail now. So a lot of times it's like the material's there. It's just, how do you just put the pieces and package it?
Yeah. A lot of times too, I see people, having faces on thumbnails can be, I kind of encourage it to kind of experiment with It doesn't work for every channel for sure.
Yeah.
But what I see a lot of is people having someone, either themselves in the thumbnail or somebody else, but like you can't see the face. It's a very zoomed out body. It's like, I don't know who that is. I don't know. And imagine we talk about known to unknown, which is connecting, a celebrity or a well-known figure or an object or something like that to yourself, so that people, let's say I scroll past and I see, like we talk about Charisma on Command. They use celebrities on their thumbnails. Mm-hmm. I don't see the creators in the thumbnails, but I see celebrities. So I scroll past and see, Robert Downey Jr. I know exactly who that is. I'm going to click on it, right?
Yeah.
But if I had him so scaled out that I can't even tell it's Robert Downey Jr., that's a missed opportunity. So scaling in the faces, I always like tell people, get your neck up. Like, let me see the entire head. Like, actually, focus on the head. Don't really worry about the shoulders or anything else. I mean, shoulders can be a bit in there, but as long as the head is there close up, that's the main thing. I can see the face, see the expression. All Mr. Beast content really close up. Ryan's the same thing too. See the whites of your eyes. At that point, if I shrink and go on suggested, I can still see the face. You got to make sure that you can see at any point in YouTube. As well as the text too, same idea. Like text, I've seen either too much, which is, again, repeating the title, or just having, 5, 6, 7 words up there, as opposed to really focusing on, do I need text? I always encourage people, like, tell the best visual story you can. If you need a word, add it, but wait till the end to do that. And at max, do 3 words, very max.
Yeah.
And what are those words doing? Are they repeating the title, or are they building off of what the intrigue in the title is, right? Is it drawing my attention to something, right? Again, Charisma on Command being a really great example of that. I mean, for example, I'm making up a title now. It could be, how to look confident as an introverted person. Let's say the title. It could be use this trick as a typical one too, but do it with this or something. That's 4 words. Anyways, same idea. Like, you want to use those words to kind of on the thumbnail to build that, to kind of draw attention to something, build that intrigue, but also work in tandem to the title. They work together.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, okay, we package the title thumbnail well. Somebody clicks.
Yep.
Like, what are some other elements of packaging we should focus on?
Yeah. Honestly, I was just talking to somebody about this too, because they mentioned they struggle with hooks. The hook being very much part of the title and thumbnail. And I was like, here's one way you can think of, actually a couple things. It's really cool to talk about, actually. Because I was talking to somebody else this week, another creator who had a really cool concept for it too. The first one being, wherever you're teasing the title and thumbnail, like, we want to reiterate, we want to like confirm that in the first few seconds. So if it's showing the similar thing that's in the thumbnail in the first few seconds, to confirm them in the right spot. If I see a car that's on fire, I want to see the first couple seconds to know I'm in the right place, right? But I can take the intrigue of the title and thumbnail and say it again, but add something to it, like, right away. I would almost kind of say that's kind of what my approach was going. Of like, if I can say like, you wouldn't, this trick changed my vehicle. Okay, what that is. And next video off, this thing changed my vehicle and it almost killed me. Right now, it's even more being built into it. Right, so I'm adding into that tension even more. Probably not the best example to use, but
I mean, I'm curious now. So
yeah, exactly. But the other one too, I was talking to a creator this week, and it was really cool because we talked about sometimes sharing clips at the beginning to kind of tease what's to come in the video. And he's like, cool. He's like, I actually it made him think about movie trailers. I was like, oh, it's a great way to think about it. And so he spent the weekend looking at movie trailers. And he's like, what I found, there's kind of 2 different types. Both doing the same thing, showing clips. One was really narrating, so using a voiceover to kind of convince me why I should watch. The other one's kind of showing those high tension clips, not giving everything away, kind of pull things a bit out of context that make me want to watch more, right?
Yeah.
So there's really cool ways of doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great exercise. Study movie trailers, because I think a couple thoughts come to mind with that. Like, a movie is going to be like 2 hours long. It's pretty rare that a YouTube video is going to be 2 hours long. So what could you take from it does happen, but what could you take from a movie trailer and like shrink that down, like take out the key elements? What are they doing? They're probably telling some of the story, but not all of the story. They're probably using music to kind of give you some more excitement and some more energy. They're probably like leaving you off on a cliffhanger or some high intrigue. And then, but they're not showing their whole hand. It's just, here's some interesting bite-sized curiosity for you to take a chomp out of. And then we're going to drop you into the actual movie.
Yeah. I think a lot of most
yeah.
trailers end with a cliffhanger too. That's another way of putting it too. Like we always have a
Yeah.
cliffhanger at the end of the video, but if you do a cliffhanger at the beginning of the video, that's what gets you to want to keep watching, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Holding something back. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would it look like to take, what a regular movie trailer's, what would you say, like a minute, like 2 minutes maybe?
Yeah, depending. Yeah.
Something like that. If you were to shrink that down to like a 10 or 15 second hook, and it's kind of, and we said this earlier, but it really does pick up just from the thumbnail. Really the context is I like to think of the thumbnail almost like a movie poster, where you get like the context of, well, this is interesting. Maybe I want to go watch the trailer for this. If the trailer was something totally different from that movie poster, you'd be all confused and probably not want to watch the movie. So, if it kind of picks up from the thumbnail, yeah, that's like super interesting. The viewer feels like they're going to get what they clicked for, and then they're probably going to watch the rest of the video. So
yeah, and I think coming back to that too, like again, these are things that take practice, and there's a lot of similarities in what people are doing that are causing them to kind of stray away from the best practices, but just, common things we learn from seeing the video. So the one video is doing it a certain way, we think, oh, that's the right way, and that's why our hooks are that way, or our titles and thumbnails are that way, because we see people doing it. And sometimes there are the oddballs out there. Like I've seen thumbnails and titles that I don't know how to get clicks, but they do, but maybe they just have a strong community, right? But at the end of the day, like all these things we've talked about up to this point, it's been, things that they are retrainable. It just takes some experimentation to get there. And at the end of the day, just because you're falling into the road of doing one of these things doesn't mean you are off track, or doesn't mean you're, failing as a creator. It just means there's always things to tweak. And I tell people all the time, this is an ongoing fix for a lot of things, that you'll never perfect everything. All you can do is control what you can fix right now, or experiment right now to really help push you in the future. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. YouTube's a marathon. If there's anything else I'd add to that, it's, you can do this. I actually have had a handful of times where a creator will say something like, can I actually do this thing? Like, do you think I'm cut out for it? And like, honestly, I don't believe that there's a creator who can't succeed on the platform. I think all of these things, like, they are skills, but I think anybody can make it slightly better every single time. They can implement some of this stuff. I really think anybody can do it. So if you're listening and maybe you're doubting yourself or on the verge of just kind of throwing in the towel, really, you can do this thing. Every week, we like to wrap up with a power tip. In today's power tip, we're talking about Dream Screen, which isn't quite out just yet, but it's a pretty cool AI feature that YouTube's going to start rolling out with Shorts, I believe later this year, towards the end of this year. But you can basically think of Dream Screen kind of like a green screen. So you've seen this on TikTok probably, where, it's sort of like the vertical format. You can basically just have an auto-generated green screen around you and generate some sort of a background. But basically what Dream Screen is going to look like is it's going to be a green screen, but you can type in whatever kind of prompt you want to set as your background. So really interesting sort of generative AI stuff that they're going to be featuring with this. But I think what's probably the most interesting to me, at least, is that it's going to be not only just realistic types of backgrounds, but you can do what they've described to be fantastical backgrounds. So, in the interview that I watched, I know it is fantastical. The interview I watched the other day, they threw out the example of, if you were to type in something like underwater with elephants or something like that, it basically generate an AI generated background for you for a short. So pretty interesting, but I don't know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like, what's kind of the use case scenario for a creator with this?
I mean, it's funny. We just talked about AI kind of being, don't rely on it. These tools coming out. I got mixed feelings. I mean, the use case for it, I don't know. It's one extra tool in your tool belt to pull when necessary is pretty much what I'll say. Again, I have mixed feelings with AI, but
I agree. I think if there's anything that I would maybe recommend to use this for, it's it could be nice for some visual storytelling, or just showing versus telling in general. I think if it's you talking about something really cool with a blank wall behind you, could be kind of interesting to add some visuals to just help kind of move the short along.
For those who may not have B-roll to use, it's like, helpful extra B-roll, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm gleaning from? That's what it is?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a green screen. You can put a interesting background behind you. You got it's almost like B-roll, but yeah. Thanks for listening to another Video Creators Podcast. We'll see you next week.